I'd like to talk about the remaining free agent pool that is left over after the arbitrary December 1st deadline that the owners set. We saw that melee, the craziness. It was a blast actually to see that compressed period of free agency. I forget how many billions of dollars were spent and how many players were recipients of that, but it was crazy. So, but there's still an interesting pool of players left that are going to affect the teams we cover here: the White Sox, Cubs, Tigers, A's, and Giants. So I don't know. We put together a list of interesting ones for us, at least. I think you've got that over there. Do you want to just start?
Yeah.
Start on the list. I think we had Nick Castellanos at the top of the list.
There you go. That's what I was going to say, Nick Castellanos, and I think he's linked to everyone except Detroit at this point, and probably the A's, since they seem to be more about giving it away right now, as far as we know. But there's been a lot of talk out of San Francisco about him patrolling right field for the Giants, and it's kind of like Nick Castellanos on either the Giants or the Sox is kind of like a catch-22 for me, because you give up a lot defensively with him in right field, and obviously the Sox more so than the Giants, because the Giants have a pretty solid defense. It's something the Sox can't afford to give up. And if you do combined production out of, like, say, an Andrew Vaughn and Gavin Sheets, who are younger too, so that's the possibility of them becoming better at right field. There's at right field than Nick Castellanos. There's that option. But if you look at offensive production, you'd probably get close to the same offensive production from those two players in a platoon role versus a righty-lefty pitching matchup. So I don't think it's a good fit for the Sox, but I could see it being definitely a fit for the Giants. I think the Giants are enjoying their offensive surge they've had, and they kind of want to keep that going with the nucleus of pitchers they have, and try to compete for years to come now in the West. And he may make sense to flip it over to you. He may make sense for the Cubs.
I think it makes a lot more sense with the Cubs just because there is a connection there. I mean, he did spend 2 months in right field at Wrigley and dominated, became a cult hero, a fan favorite. There's no way I could ever imagine he didn't enjoy every second of his time in Chicago. He was ecstatic to get out of Detroit for actually reasons I'll bring up in a little bit, but I think it's a no-brainer. I think the Cubs need kind of a feel-good story. The Cubs and the Marquee Network need all the good publicity they can get. They need eyeballs on that network. Nick Castellanos will immediately bring that. Beyond giving more credibility to what their efforts really are towards winning in 2022, besides signing Marcus Stroman, there's not a whole lot else there. So they're going to have to bolster that to give fans reason to believe that they're really in it to win it. And Nick Castellanos would make a lot of sense. Of course, like you said, you're giving up defense for sure. That is unquestionable. I think the Cubs would be willing to do that. It worked out decently, not perfectly when he was there. I think San Francisco makes some sense, but I think just because there's an obvious connection to the Cubs, I think that would be the front runner amongst our teams, at least.
Yeah.
Then it all comes down to years and money and whatever, and Cubs have plenty of money, as will be a theme throughout this conversation on free agency. Who do we got next on our list?
How about we go Trevor Story?
That's an interesting one. As the Cubs need a shortstop, I'm not sure that Trevor Story fits the bill. I'm not a Trevor Story fan. I know there's lots out there, but I'm afraid of his splits. I'm really afraid of his kind of mediocre numbers this past season. But his splits out of Colorado are a bit concerning. So I'm not sure he's a fit for the Cubs. Obviously, he's not for my Tigers because we just signed Javi Baez. I don't know. Do you see him as a fit for? I mean, you've got Brandon Crawford in San Francisco and Tim
No,
Anderson, obviously.
well, so I think that's the when I'm looking at what's left out there, it's a lot of talented shortstops, right? We've got some talented shortstops left. I think the White Sox are going to have a conversation, whether it's with the incoming player or their current shortstop, about moving over to second base. And I don't know. I don't know what how
I don't.
Trevor Story feels about playing second base. I don't
Here's
think Tim Anderson would like it very much. But
I think that whole narrative about getting somebody to switch to second base, that works at the bottom of the market. That works on somebody that is, you're not paying hundreds of millions of dollars to move positions. These top free agents that we're talking about have all the leverage in the world. They're not
right,
they don't need to they don't need to, unless they're dying to play second base, which I don't know. It seems like shortstop is more of the glamorous position that everybody wants to play. I think there's a possibility there. I don't see why the top of the shortstop market, any of those guys, or especially Tim Anderson, in the opposite part of that scenario, would agree to move to second base. So unless there's something I don't know about Tim Anderson or about the negotiating prowess of Rick Hahn, I don't know why any of the big shortstops would be interested in
well, I
moving.
think it's about going to a team that will pay you the money you want and you have a chance to win a world championship. And I think that is something that may make players want to possibly, switch up their position.
Here's my next question about that, though. Will the White Sox be able to pay him the money he wants?
I see no reason why not.
Well, I'd see several reasons. Well, one reason, because it's money, and the White Sox haven't spent at the top of the market for
But
anyone.
they've made legitimate offers to the pitchers over the last few years that
Mm-hmm.
were right where the numbers needed to be. It wasn't like low balling a
So,
player
no, I get that.
or anything like that.
Can they
So
continue to do that? What I'm saying is, right now, their payroll for 2022 is at $170 million, which is the highest Jerry Reinsdorf has ever gone before anything else has happened this season. They're already at the highest levels they've ever been at. They could go past that. Maybe the results of the CBA would dictate that, but I don't see it. I just looking at history, I don't see why all of a sudden the White Sox would be big players in that market. Again, maybe Jerry realizes he's going to be dead soon and will pull a Mike Ilitch and just spend all sorts of crazy money just trying to win a championship before he dies. But I haven't seen the evidence of that. That the White Sox are shockingly the fifth highest payroll right now in all of Major League Baseball. I'm not sure when the last time that happened. They're actually spending more than the Red Sox at number six right now. So I think that's something we're going to need to talk about throughout this free agent speculation, with how much room and how much money the White Sox are really going to want to spend.
yeah, I mean, yeah, are they? I didn't know. I don't know where I know their active payroll's 169. So
Yeah, which I think that blows out of the water whatever their previous high was. I was surprised to see that. I double checked that one.
yeah, I mean, but they have to, if they want to compete this year, they need a legitimate starting second baseman,
Yeah.
and there's no addition by subtraction necessarily in this case, unless it is a trade for a second baseman that they can move some farm people to get a veteran second baseman. But
I
I
think
don't
that's
have
more realistic.
I don't have that list in front of me right now, so I don't want to get into that
I
at the
like that. I
moment.
like that for next episode. Maybe we talk about
Yeah,
potential
I
trade
mean,
targets. That's fun.
but I mean that could be a right field solution too. But again, I don't
Sure.
really feel like necessarily need a right field solution. But
Yeah.
I'm in the minority on that of White Sox fans,
Yeah.
and it's there. And while I'm thankful that we don't have our GMs really aren't worried about how the fans generally feel about the moves they make. So like, thankfully,
Yeah.
that is not going to dictate what they do. But anyway, that's my thoughts on that. And I agree with you too in the fact that you're right. Like if you're one of the top position players out there, you don't. There's no reason if you don't want to why you would change positions, especially if it's going to devalue you for your possible next contract or
Well, and
something.
that's the big elephant in the room. Yeah, that's why the guys don't want to do it, because if that's a less valuable position that gets paid less, they're not going to want to do that unless they're thinking of this as their final contract.
Yeah,
That's the other side of it where they're not
yeah.
concerned about that. But I think you're onto something there with the trade market. I think that's where the White Sox go for their second baseman if they've got the system to be able to, and they have some redundancy
Yeah, I mean,
with their youngsters. So there might be some moves there to be made where it seems like second base is a place you could trade for.
might be Kimbrel to the Cubs for Nick Madrigal.
The redo.
Yeah. All right.
Sure.
Thanks for the loaner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. Let's move on from that.
Let's move on to former Chicago Cub Christ Bryant,
The Christ.
the savior, once considered the savior of the Cubs.
He did save the Cubs.
He did save the Cubs. He had some really great years there.
And now we're just asking for more saviors. So
yeah. I mean, the Giants are out. They pretty much said so. They pretty much
I'm surprised
said they
by
were
that.
underwhelmed by his performance.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I guess I'm surprised by that. But projecting him going forward, I think is what everyone's going to be using against him. If his numbers have been in some decline as he ages, they're saying his swing doesn't age well, which
yeah.
I mean that could be negotiating ploys or just the whole market trying to devalue him. I don't know. I could see that though. If that's the case, I could see him coming back to the north side.
I know, right? That's what I keep thinking.
If the whole market has devalued his services and he has nowhere else to go, I think he has a very happy home in Chicago.
I mean, you want to talk about flipping a fan base in a red hot minute. Yeah. If you sign any of if you sign him, there's two other names. We don't have to. Jump
I think we'll get into those right away here.
We'll get into those in the next few minutes. But obviously, speaking of Chicago, since he can play every position on the field, he's obviously a great fit for the White Sox.
That's interesting.
But I don't think. I think what Trevor's Story is going to get would be more in the Sox dollars than what Chris Bryant may be asking for. So
boy,
we'll see.
Oh yeah, it'd be more than what Chris Bryant, but
yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll see on that. Other Cubs you mentioned that are on the market still are first baseman, two first basemen actually, as Kyle Schwarber has emerged as a first baseman in maybe a name only with the Red Sox, but Schwarber's out there, and of course, Anthony Rizzo is still out there. Every bleeding heart blue Cubby fan would love to have those guys back. I'm not sure that would be anything more than a feel good story and to sell some tickets and sell some subscriptions to the Marquee Network. If that's what we're going to do, we decided that was not the way to build the franchise. We had to go away from those guys to have more contact hitters. And I think Rizzo would be the plausible one. I don't know if his feelings are hurt. If he would come back.
He's a sensitive dude, man.
I do have not inside information, but listening to podcasts over this past month, The Compound, Ian Happ's podcast that he does with a couple of former teammates with the Iowa Cubs in the Cub system, Zach Short and Dakota. I always forget his name, but sorry, Dakota. But of course, Ian Happ is great friends with Anthony Rizzo, as were teammates for quite some time, and they consider themselves more than teammates. Rizzo came on his show in early December, revealed some news that he did indeed pack up his condo finally in Chicago. That's why he was back in town. Makes sense. He wasn't able to do that obviously after being traded at near the deadline, and it took him a while. So, but it's almost like he closed the chapter on Chicago by officially moving out of the city. Not that a multimillionaire couldn't easily just move right back if the money called. Um, One funny thing he said is that certainly piqued my interest is that he is neighbors with none other than Alex Avila down in Florida, and Alex Avila happens to be the son of Tigers general manager Al Avila or Avila, depending on who you're speaking to at the time. But and Rizzo joked that he might be able to be talked into playing first base for the Tigers going forward. That was obviously tongue in cheek, as Tigers already have a first baseman for now and a first baseman for the future, with Cabrera being there now, and then Spencer Torkelson assuming the role going forward. So I'm not sure that makes any more sense than just a fun joke on a podcast. But I almost fell off my couch when I heard that one. So seeing Rizzo in the number 44 in the Old English D would be pretty damn cool. I think Rizzo's going to end up back in New York. I think he wants to be a Yankee. I think he loved his time there. I think that short porch in right field makes all the sense in the world. I don't know why. I think he seems like a big city, big stage guy. I think he makes all the sense in the world. It's just up to the Yankees, I guess. I don't know what the Yankees strategy has been going forward. They don't seem to be the world's biggest spenders, the way their reputation has been for the last 20, 30 years. So that's a head scratcher there. But I don't know, do the White Sox or need another first baseman?
I mean,
Eventually DH?
History would say yes, but really no. No, we're good. We good.
Yeah,
we good. He's not needed in the Giants either. Brandon Belt's there, so.
What about Schwarber? I know a lot of White Sox fans wanted Schwarber.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
You've heard that before. I'm not making it up, am I?
No, I guess not. I mean, like, yeah, people love offense. They don't realize what you have to give up sometimes for offense. I guess as a full-time or nearly full-time DH, but we don't really need a full-time DH. We have so many hitters on the team at the moment, or batters, I should say.
You could use lefties. You could use a left-handed bat. That's where that.
Well, I mean, that's maybe. I mean, if Gavin Sheets' numbers play out to a full season like the projection, we really don't need one. So.
Whoa! All right. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm just saying. That's all. I mean, it's you've got to pick your poison right now and what they really need. And to me, it's a middle infielder. So more so than that, and a few more relief pitchers. So.
Well, as long as we're talking about the White Sox, I think we should talk about former White Sox, Carlos Rodon, and where he may or may not end up. He's might be the biggest head scratcher for this offseason because he has all the potential to be a Cy Young Award winner. He was in the running for it, but do you trust his health? And I don't, and I don't know who will. I don't know. I think I've heard he's looking for a 3-year deal.
It's a multi-year deal. I think anyone who gives him a multi-year deal is an asshole.
Yeah, I mean, boy,
and no offense. I mean, it's not. I think he's a really great guy.
Yeah,
but he's never played a full fucking season.
You got the very best out of him. The very best we've ever seen was this last year, and he could not deliver in the playoffs.
I mean, he may have to do a freaking media bullpen session to prove he can throw 97 miles an hour or something before.
That was the disturbing thing. His velocity was down so much down the stretch, and then it ramped up immensely in that playoff game, and then he could only go for 3 innings, or was it even 3 innings?
Yeah, I mean maybe for Carlos Rodon, his real future potential is a closer, because you bring a guy in with that. It's similar, actually. His arsenal is very similar to Kimbrel's arsenal, where you've got if he can ramp it up and throw 99 miles an hour and then snap off some nasty freaking shit dropping out of the zone like Kimbrel does, that is a great closer.
I think that
But
is definitely his future. I don't think he believes that's his present.
no, he does not.
And
And
so
that he's going to be his own worst enemy probably this upcoming season.
what I can see happening more likely than not is him signing a big 1 year deal. I think teams would be lining up to give him a 1 year deal, and those with the disposable income could give him a big ass dollar
Yeah.
amount.
I mean, you can get a 1 year deal and be set for life.
Yeah.
You know what I
So
mean? He could get
yeah.
a 1 year like 18 probably $1 million deal based off of his stats from last year.
So maybe that's why the asking price that's out there is 3 years, just to set the bar way too high when he would be possibly willing to do 1 year. Um, and that's essentially a bet on himself, while making a shit ton of money. I don't know. In that scenario, I mean, I can see the Tigers even going after him for 1 year. I think the Cubs might be interested. I don't know who wouldn't be interested in Rodon for 1 year. So that's where the numbers get big for him. I think that might be his best strategy. But um, is that all of our? I think we've covered all the Cubs and White Sox that we wanted to talk about. At least the big players. Other names out there, former Cubs relievers like Ryan Tepera and Andrew Chafin, I think would be no brainers if the Cubs are, really going for it. I think, getting Marcus Stroman isn't necessarily sending the signal that they are going for it this year. I don't think bolstering your middle relief is a move a team does that isn't really in it to win it. So I think if we see the Cubs make a splashy move, such as Nick Castellanos, as we mentioned, and another to be named later shortstop that we will bring up for sure, the elephant in the room. I think after they make a big deal like that, they might be going after Andrew Chafin, who is another cult hero, famously baseball player, t-shirt wearing guy, Rob Beck Jr., the shooter 2.0. Ryan Tepera, obviously a great reliever on both sides of town. I think those kind of guys actually would make sense. Like I said, after the Cubs make another move, they could make more sense for the White Sox, though. Because middle relief is going to be something any contending team is going to want to take a look at, unless you're willing to wait until the trade deadline to address that.
No, I think both of them make sense for the Sox. I think they make sense for the Giants too. So, like I always thought there was a chance Tepera could come back. So, we'll see. They can, in the perfect world, they sign them both, and they don't have to have a pitcher go. They have three closers, two top middle relievers. You don't have to have any starter pitcher get past the fifth inning. You're fine.
Yeah, no problem.
No problem. We got this thing. So, yeah. I mean, they're to your point. It's hard to not see them as a fit for any ball club that's wants to contend. So,
right.
It's a commodity to get good ones. Tepera was very good with the White Sox. He performed very well. He had his first outing was his major bad one. I think it was against the Cubs. I think he got lit up or something like that, and everyone freaked out and
sent the mole in, another mole.
Yeah, right, exactly. So,
well, we can move on to some other just generic big names out there that don't necessarily have any connection to any of our teams, like Kyle Seager.
Well, he's retired. So,
did he retire?
Yeah, he retired.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, he retired. So he's got no connection except for the Seattle Mariners, as he played there his entire career.
Wow, that's amazing. He's not that old, I don't think. I know he's older than Corey, but he's
33.
Yeah, that's surprising. So surprising I didn't even know about it.
It's breaking news for Smitty.
Anderson Simmons is another name on the list. I mean, you got to love his defense, but that would make sense only for the White Sox, only if Tim Anderson is willing to move over. That would be an upgrade defensively for sure. But that's a complicated scenario that I'm not sure makes any sense. Certainly not in San Francisco. There's a bunch of outfielders left over, like
well, you got the Conforto, who
I'm not a fan of Conforto
I'm.
ever.
I mean, he had some solid years there, but again, last year, kind of like the Trevor Story situation, you gotta like question like what do you get going forward with
Con-
this player?
Conforto, I'm completely biased because of fantasy experience. Where I just get burned by him anytime I put him on my roster. I feel like he's fool's gold. Eddie Rosario has been better on my fantasy teams, and he was much better with the Braves, world champion Braves down the stretch. That's an interesting one, maybe for the White Sox if you are going to be making a move for the outfield. But
I
as you
think that
stated,
I think
you
that
don't want
that's
to.
yeah, but that's a downgrade
Mm.
from offensively from what they have. He's a downgrade. I mean,
Mm.
his numbers have been deteriorating. So
Jorge Soler is out there.
yeah, I mean, we could have the Cubs, the former Cub corners, left and right. We can tell Lewis Robert he has to basically patrol all three fields.
Yeah, he might be able to
Uh,
do it though. That's the thing.
that's the thing. Yes. So hopefully he's been working out, getting even faster than he already is to cover. You know, oof, yeah. I mean, great bat. Incredible playoff. Probably going to get a little overpaid maybe because of his playoff
Yeah,
performance, but I
he's been putting
mean,
up the numbers for several
yeah,
years though. The
he
power
he
numbers are
has.
there.
He has, and I mean, I love his offense. I love his, he's not how old is he now? He's only like what,
He's not old.
25, 26.
Yeah,
So
he
he's
might
probably
be.
coming into his best years. I mean, I would be like, he's the guy. A guy like if the Sox signed Soler, I'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know how I feel about it because I feel like
it'd be fun to
we
talk about.
are going to have some problems defensively. But wow, doesn't that lineup look even,
Hmm.
more dangerous now with someone like him in it? So,
Yeah. Well, I think the last few names on our list here are just fun to talk about. I'm not sure they're actually going to be
no,
available.
well, I think one of them's coming right to the White Sox for the starting rotation.
Would that be Clayton Kershaw?
Oh my God, how did you read my mind?
Why on earth would Clayton Kershaw ever leave
The
the
Dodgers don't want
beautiful
him. They don't want him.
Dodgers definitely want him. They did him a favor by not giving him the qualifying offer just to keep the drama down. They will give him whatever money he wants. I'm sure they have a deal worked out. They just want him to be healthy, and I think he just wants to be healthy. His legacy is set. He's one of the best pitchers in history. I think he's a Dodger for life. If he cannot decide on a deal with the Dodgers, I think he's really going to decide either he can pitch or he can't this offseason, based on his health. And if he can pitch, he's just going to go right back to the Dodgers. But that's
Or
fun to
maybe
it's
the Giants. That's a common switch. That's a common switch out there. It is a
wow.
common switch.
Common. I'd like to see the numbers on that, how common that actually is. But that's just a fun one. I think he's doing uh they're being cool to each other. They seem to have a great relationship between the team and the player. So I don't see anything else happening there. But
Word Hole Media.